Welcome back to Real YouTube Mastermind, where we bring on amazing guests to talk about real estate, to talk about video, YouTube, all the fun stuff, content creation. My guest today is on a rocket ship with his video and YouTube, and I'm super excited to have him on. Levi Lascsak, welcome to the channel, man.
Hey, thanks, Jeremy. Thanks for having me.
Dude, I met you a week ago 2 weeks ago at Tom Ferry, and we started chit chatting. I looked at your YouTube channel, and man, I gotta say, as somebody that's been in the YouTube game for a couple of years, seeing your channel got me reignited and excited about YouTube, man. Tell me about YouTube and how you got on here and what's going on with your channel.
Yeah, well, what's funny is that you are one of the channels that I researched before getting started. So, it's one of those things where this is my first year of licensed real estate. I've been in the game since 2009. I started out with buying rentals after the crash 2008. And I did some fix and flips. I had 7 rentals at one time. I have Airbnb now. So I've always just kind of been on the investment side, but I've always used a real estate agent for my transactions. I wasn't licensed at the time. But I was actually in the financial services business for the last 5 years, built a very successful business. I had all the contracts with Dallas ISD to help teachers with retirement planning. And if you get approved to work at Dallas ISD, you have a very captive audience. It's a very niche market because only a few vendors get approved to work with their teachers. So that was very lucrative, and every single year was better than the last. And 2019 was my best year ever. Then 2020 happened, and the first 3 months of 2020 was my best first 3 months ever. And then you know what happens in April 2020? All the schools shut down, and my business literally, the income, just stopped overnight. And it didn't look like there was any end in sight for that, of course, over the summer. And so it was one of those things where I was really kind of ready to make a shift anyways. And so I was kind of, and I've always loved real estate, especially on the investment side. I wasn't making millions from it. I would do a couple of properties a year. It was really just kind of like a little side hustle for me, kind of a little passion project. But I just thought, I have some very successful friends in real estate industry. And so, of course, a lot of them were, I just looked up to them as well. And so I kind of started to feel myself get drawn to that way. So over the summer of 2020, I started to think, okay, well, if I'm going to make the move into licensed residential real estate, the last thing I wanted to do was to kind of like cold call and door knock and spend money on flyers and magazines and billboards and, try to brand myself, especially in Dallas, Texas, where, there's a ton of agents. First of all, there's a ton of top ranking agents, that are seriously branded and embedded in Dallas. And it seemed too far off to be able to try to break into that. And I literally, Tom Ferry says this, like you said, we met a couple of weeks there at the Tom Ferry event, 87% of agents fell in their first 2 years. So that was my biggest concern. I was like, I don't want to get into this and struggle, especially since I've been successful in other industries. It's like, I was also really concerned about kind of starting over again. And so I was just like, let me pause, let me be patient, and let me look for the right way to get into real estate. And one of my mentors, Michael Reese, said something that just really stuck in my mind was, it's not the best real estate agent that wins, it's the best marketer. And so I knew I have to have a solid marketing plan. And I knew that was going to be through social media too. I was like, if I don't want to spend a ton of money, I've got to leverage social media some way. And I wanted to attract business and bring business to me versus trying to, do all the outbound methods. And so I looked at Facebook, I looked at Instagram, I looked at TikTok, and I bought books. I, learned about all the marketing arms of those channels, but none of them really sat well with me. I just didn't get a good feeling. I just thought, I don't know. I just don't like it really. And it didn't resonate with me. So then YouTube was kind of my last option. I was like, well, let me look into YouTube. And I got onto YouTube and I was finding some real estate channels and looking around. And I just thought, I've never been interested in watching a $300,000 listing video or something like that. So, I just wasn't finding what I was looking for. But then I started to come across a few channels, and then I started to find real estate marketers or marketing channels. And, ultimately you go down one rabbit hole after another. And I started to kind of understand a pattern, and I started to find some different channels. And, I came across your channel, several other real estate channels that I started to see some success. But then I thought, okay, let me, Christina Smallhorn, another one, but she focuses on affordable housing. So at first I kind of was like, well, that's not really what I'm looking to do. So initially I kind of dismissed a couple of those channels, which I wouldn't recommend at this point. Now I'd always say, hey, you can learn something from someone at any time. And so, but at the time I was kind of like, well, I'm not looking to be in that niche. So let me just kind of keep looking. And so, just one rabbit hole after another, I finally started to understand what I thought would really work. And then I bought some YouTube books. You kind of see them on this side of me there. And that kind of helped me understand the principles of YouTube as well. And then I thought, okay, I think YouTube is the right answer for me. And so then I was like, all right, well, I'm not just going to jump into it and make a video. I need to have a plan of what videos to make, what's going to work. And then I started looking across all these different channels and just looking at view counts and comments and things like that. And I started to understand, okay, it looks like these types of videos work, these types of videos work, those don't. And so I just kind of wrote out a business plan. And what I say now is that, if you treat YouTube like a hobby, it'll pay you like a hobby. But if you treat YouTube like a business, it'll pay you like a business. And so I just developed a plan. I took time to really research and understand. And then once I kind of had an outlay of what videos I felt were going to work, it was then, instead of just making those videos, I said, I need to understand the platform first. So then I went all in on like understanding the platform and the back end. And that's where I found YouTube creators, like Nick Nimmin and Dee Nimmin and Roberto Blake and Think Media and, Sean Cannell, these types of people. And I started to research, YouTube as a whole. And so that helped me understand, SEO and optimization and just that the back end stuff to kind of help you get started. I'm not saying that's the end all be all to YouTube videos, but it helped me understand a baseline and give me some understanding as far as, okay, if I make a video, what do I need to put in the description or even title it differently? Or what do I need to think about the title or even thumbnails or things like that? So that just helped me establish a plan. And I put that together for about 2 months or so. And then that's what helped me start out and release the first video, December 5th, 2020. And so from there, it's been astronomical, the growth. Now, started out slow and it started out very slow. I think even the first video there has, it's up to like 700 views. It was the first videos. You think about, with all the growth of the other videos, the first video I released still over this whole time doesn't get any views. And I think that's where people also get discouraged. But I understood that, hey, once you start, you need to be consistent, publish consistently. And that's something that I've done since starting the channel. I've had no major gaps. I haven't missed a beat on there. It's been my number one goal is to publish minimum 2 videos per week. And really, I started out with 3 because what I noticed about Dallas was there's other real estate agents. I would do the same thing if I was in Austin. If I found your channel, I'm like, okay, here's Jeremy, been in the game for a little while, publishing content. But what I noticed is all the agents in Dallas, every single one of them, only 1 video per week. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to, and then plus there's vloggers, bloggers, travel, lifestyle, like Betty Sue posts an apartment video and she gets 100,000 views, so you had all these other videos to compete with. And I thought, you know what, let me just death by volume, basically. Let me see if I can overrun. And so I was like, let me just come out of the gate with 3 videos per week, as long as I could do that. And so I did that for about the first 6 months, just to try to break into the market, so to speak. And it did serve me well. And so
how long? I think that's my first major question for you. So you started this channel, you're doing 3 videos a week, 2 to 3 videos a week. Most agents after a couple weeks, months of doing YouTube get discouraged. How long was it before you really started seeing business out of it?
Well, we got the first call within about 30 days and only 48 subscribers. Yeah.
Wow. 48 subscribers and you're already getting business.
And it was actually $1 million buyer. His budget was $1 million. And it was like, holy cow, okay, maybe we're onto something. Now that person never bought, they ended up never even moving to Dallas. But, that conversation and that flow, getting someone set up on property searches for $1 million, all of that really kind of helped, just kind of keep it together, I would say, in the beginning.
Nice. So you get, you start getting leads. I find, and this is probably off the topic question, but I find that you start getting leads on YouTube and agents get all excited, right? I'm getting leads. they stop shooting videos because now they're running around town. But how after a certain point you start realizing some of these leads are just, not worth the time. So how did you go from starting to get leads to really figure out which leads you should be pursuing and break that down?
Well, I mean, that's the great thing about being in. I mean, I've been in business for 20 years. So even though it's technically the first year as a licensed agent, it's not my first year in business. So I understood systems and processes, and I knew that I needed to have something in place as well. I'm good friends with Michael Reese and Woods Davis, who are pretty much experts in back end systems for real estate agents. So I had a CRM already that I was familiar with and knew about. And I used that to capture the incoming leads. It records phone calls, text messages, everything like that. So the thing is that we built out a pipeline, and that did this from the very beginning. Built out a pipeline, and based on where they were in the process, we have if we need to send them to lender. So if we send them to lender, they get moved into a column, and automatic emails go out to the lending team. It goes to the agent. It goes to the client. It makes the email introductions. If they are on property alerts, we move them there. It sends out automatic emails. Hey, check your email. It sends out text messages too. And it says, hey, check your email. We set you up on property alerts. If they tell us they're coming to town, we have a coming to town email. So if we move to that column, it explains, it says, hey, we look forward to your visit coming to town. Can you please give us your flights, your hotel you're staying at, and the address, and the exact time and days you're available to see homes? Because when people come here, they may come for a week, but they may only want to see properties for 2 hours, one day of that whole week. So we ask them to, and the people that start to reply to that stuff, that give us plane tickets and hotels, we know they're extremely serious at that point, right? So from that standpoint, what this channel does, at least our channel does, it does attract a lot of relocation. But actually, we absolutely love relocation because they are extremely intentional. They usually have a short timeline. They're usually moving within 30 to 60 days. And when they come into town, they're in town for like 2 to 3 days. They make decisions. Most of our buyers buy on the first day we're out, which, by the way, this little showing tip is that we always take them to the best house first, because then they compare every other house to the best house throughout the day.
Interesting.
Then they tend to get FOMO because of the market so hot right now. They don't want other offers coming in on that first house. So they're likely to make an offer that first day. And so, and then they're in town, they're like in town for 2 or 3 days, but they usually spend the first day or two. We'll actually tell them, hey, go drive around, check things out first. So we don't do that. We don't spend time showing them around. We're not chauffeurs. So we set the expectations from the very beginning. And so, if they don't come into town, we don't come into town. But otherwise, all of our systems are automated. We have an active conversation column in the pipeline. We have a ghosted column. So if somebody disappears on us, we don't chase them down. We may reach out to them once or twice. If they don't respond, we move them to the ghosted column, and that sends out like text every day for like 5 days in a row. And then it switches to like 2 days after that, then maybe 3 days after that, and then 4 days. And but it hits them hard for like a month. And if they don't respond after that, hey, we're not worried about it. So we don't waste time with people that are not serious, because we have a system in place for that.
That's awesome. I think that's the biggest problem, I ran into for a while there. Was I got excited, my systems were semi in place, but you have to really, when you go into this process and you start getting like good leads, if you don't have a really good system in place, the YouTube part of this becomes irrelevant. You're just creating content and just to create content. And, you have to be intentional, right? My content isn't asking for business, but everybody does their content differently. And we'll talk about content in a minute, but I feel like you really have to have systems in place. Otherwise you're doing it for free almost, right? So let's talk about content, right? There's 2 points I want to get to on content. One, I want to talk about thumbnail SEO, but the other is how you started coming up with your videos and how you're coming up with content.
Yeah, sure. And just to backtrack just real quick on a point you made, which is I just had the opportunity to speak at a real estate event in Sarasota, Florida on Friday. And I actually showed people the timeline. And from the 2 months of research, and also we filmed for an entire month before we published. So that's something I also recommend, is that if you're going to publish twice a week, that's 8 videos. I recommend you film those 8 videos first before you start a channel, because then you'll be scheduled out for a month, and then you have a whole month to make your next month's worth of content.
Smart.
It gives you breathing room. It gives you some cushion, right? It should relieve some stress. And so I did 2 months of research, then filmed for a month, then released the first videos. But what I showed people on the timeline was that it really took 7 months before we closed the first deal. So I was showing people month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4, 0 transactions, 0 GCI. If you look at the life of whenever I started digging into YouTube, so that 7 months, that's where, just like you said earlier, a lot of people don't have the tenacity to stick it out that long, where they get frustrated. But I was just on a mission at that time. So if you look at that, but really when we launched the first video, it only took about 90 days to get the first deal under contract. So 30 days for the first phone call, 90 days to get the first deal under contract. We had, business closing at around the 120-day mark. So that's what really kept us involved there. So going back to SEO and content, what content did I shoot? Was that the question, right? So
yeah, so you batched, right? So you filmed 8 at a time. What was the purpose? Like, you intentionally did these 8 videos to start, right? Which was a first-time home buyer incentives, and then you jump into pros and cons. But how did you come up with the system to which videos and which content you're putting out for your viewers?
It was through the research of other YouTube channels. So, what I found, like, Katie Day, and I saw her pros and cons on Houston, and it had, I don't know at the time, I think it's over 100K views right now, but at the time it had like 50,000 views. I was like, wow, holy cow, pros and cons. And I started to notice other real estate channels with pros and cons. Even in Dallas, some pros and cons videos had high view count. So I was like, okay, well, that's a video. Veterans benefits was just because I'm a veteran myself. And so that was just something that I felt, to help out other veterans. And I learned things that I didn't know were available as well. So even like free parking at the DFW airport up to 90 days in short term. So it's like, now veterans can go and park at short term, literally right across from the terminal, for up to 90 days for free parking. So little things like that. I was like, I wanted to do that video. That video didn't start out strong at first, but if you search veterans benefits just in Texas in general, I think that video is one of the top ranked. But it did it for the first 2 to 3 months, it was flat, and now it's just taken off. So that one, first time home buyers, I thought that was going to be a good one, but clearly it's probably one of the least viewed videos. So I thought that might be something attractive, because as a first time home buyer, they're usually researching, right? Pros and cons of Dallas. And then I don't know, what was a couple of the other ones? It was basically based on what I found in other YouTube channels that I just noticed that it seemed to be doing well. And that's what kind of got me started on that. And then it was branching off to the suburbs. Once I did a couple of suburb videos, those seemed to be more popular than Dallas itself. And so that kind of told me something, okay, people are really wanting to live in the suburbs, right? Or research.
Right. When are you going to do another Prosper Texas video? I told you, man, you got to do that one, and don't move to Dallas again.
Yes. Yeah, they're in the works. So Prosper, I have 3 other videos on Prosper. They're not doing as well as that one.
The title "Living in Prosper, Texas." I think that's your title right there. That's your content.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is I think that's what people are searching. I came across TubeBuddy, to help search, and that's where a lot of these ideas come from, as well as for just little different word shift in the title. Now, does that make a big difference? But I also think about the series I've been doing is, what does this amount get you in? And so
how was that? We talked about that at Summit. How is that series actually working for you?
Well, several of the videos, mostly the 400,000 to 500,000 range, those are the ones taking off. So if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see Frisco. Yeah, see that 400,000 on the 4th row?
That's one right here.
Yeah, so that one's like 5.5 thousand views, in 2 months. So that one
this one.
Yeah, right there. So that one took off. You see, I mean, but everything's pretty, I would say, mostly modest. We're not really looking for virality, because I think YouTube really has our audience so dialed in right now. I mean, Jeremy, we're literally getting 4 to 6 leads per day. I mean, right now. it's really getting to a point where not just Travis, my partner, is completely overwhelmed to where we have spillover to 2 buyers agents. And, and we went out of town when we went to Vid Summit 2 weeks ago. We went to the Vid Summit in Los Angeles. We forwarded the phone and everything to one of the buyers agents. He's like booked out for the next month. We've got 6 people in town just this weekend right now. So everyone's saying that fourth quarter slows down. October's not a good month. I'm like, we got 6 people in just this weekend.
Yeah. I'll tell you this, as we're sitting here talking, I clicked on my email on accident because I was trying to get between screens. I had 3 people in the last hour reach out to me. Literally, it was like headline agent needed in Austin. Yep. Crazy. So I think that's the power of YouTube. But let me ask you this. In your videos, I always have this, I wouldn't say beef, but conflict with agents that are putting in this specific thing in their videos. In your content, because I try not to watch other creators, other YouTuber or agent YouTubers content. Are you constantly asking for business in the videos?
I have a call to action at the beginning and one at the end. And it's really, I don't even really say, I'm just saying I'm Levi. And if you're thinking about moving to Dallas, give me a call, shoot me a text, or send me an email. Happy to help you make a smooth move to Dallas.
Okay, so that's it. It's quick.
Yeah, that's it. So, and I don't even say I'm a real estate agent. I don't say blah, 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 blah. It's not. It's just like, hey, if you're thinking about moving to Dallas, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. Happy to help you make a smooth move to Dallas. And then at the end, I usually close out and say, by the way, whether you're thinking of moving in 9 days or 90 days, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. Happy to help you make a smooth move to Dallas. And it's literally that quickly that I just have it at the beginning and the end.
So that brings me up to a really good question then. What do you think are some of the mistakes since that you studied YouTube, right? You studied YouTube, you went into it 7 months, you're seeing business after 7 months. What do you think the biggest mistakes agents are actually making in YouTube or video? What do you think that is?
Well, actually, it was 7 months until we started closing business. We're the life of the channel right now is actually at 10 months. But in the last 7 months, when we got the first deal under contract, Jeremy, I mean, we've. Am I allowed to speak numbers on here?
You can do whatever. Yeah. Some people don't feel comfortable. Some others do. So it's totally up to you.
Well, the only reason I want to say this is just to hopefully help inspire other people that if you stick with it and you really take massive action, it's a true possibility. And so we got the first deal under contract March 1st, 2020. Since then, we just surpassed 35 million in production. And
that's crazy.
Just from the channel. Now, I know people are going to ask, 20 million of that is already closed. So even if you did 5 or 10 million from a YouTube channel, would that change your business? That's what I always ask people, because they want to know if they put effort into something, is it going to pay them back? And so I just say, well, look, if you did an extra 5 or 10 million a year, would that be worth it? I mean, you have to answer those questions for yourself. But as far as now I forgot the original question, but it was what content or what mistakes do agents make? Yeah. Well, I think what I noticed was the videos that weren't doing well was open house videos, was listing videos for $250,000 or $300,000 homes. I personally don't think you should do a listing video unless it's well in the 7 figures, like $1 million or $2 million. And I believe you should create that video so it's an evergreen video, not necessarily a listing. Brad McCollum, I think, is a good example of this, right? He creates listing videos, but they're like productions in themselves. Now, I don't think a lot of people can do that to his caliber, but you can understand the concept that he makes it a showcase of the home, not like, here's my listing. I'm Levi, the real estate agent in Dallas. Yeah, he makes it a production of the home. So I think if you're going to do a listing video, it needs to be in the 7 figures. It needs to have a step up. I mean, you probably don't want to be holding a selfie stick. Now, all of my videos I've done with my iPhone and a $20 selfie stick.
That was actually going to be my next question is, what is the cost associated with this? And are you, a lot of agents think that you had to spend a ton of money to get into YouTube. Are you spending a lot of money, or is this all done, like you just said, through your cell phone?
So we've spent $0 on advertising. We haven't run a single ad to the channel. So that's all been organic traffic. I used my iPhone 11 Pro I can't speak for Androids, but if you have an iPhone, I recommend an 11 Pro or above because it has the wide angle camera on it. I have that wide angle camera that's facing me. I know I'm going to be in the shot and I know it's going to capture everything behind me. So I'm not worried about, am I in the shot? I know I'm in the shot. And so, and I bought $150 Shure microphone that actually is just a plug and play into the iPhone. So there's no wires, no batteries. It literally plugs into the iPhone, and it's like a little boom mic with a dead cat on there for $150. So that was probably the most expensive. And I bought a $20, tripod that's about a foot long. And, I just use that to give myself a little bit of extension so the camera's not, all up in my face. So I've done that, spent zero money on advertising, but I have spent money on an editor from day one because
Nice.
First of all, I have no interest in editing. So it's like Gary Vee says, you're not lazy, you're just not interested in what you're doing. So if somebody doesn't want to do something, they're not going to do it. I had no interest in editing. I knew if I did it, I probably would have quit after 2 videos, maybe 1, because I probably would have got frustrated with the process. Plus, I knew it wasn't the best use of my time. And I know I can pay somebody, my hourly rate now is extremely high. An editor is not so much depending on who you buy. But I started out with someone that's not so expensive. You can go onto Fiverr. Fiverr.com. Here's what I recommend to for people that can't need to find an editor. Go onto Fiverr, upload your video clips, write a Word document with specific instructions, how you want it edited, and then hire 5 different people. Hire the $20 person, hire the $50 person, hire the $100 person, hire the $200 person. Wow. See what you get back with the same instructions to those 5 people. You'll probably find that the middle person, the $50 or the $100 or maybe even $75 per video, is going to work out. It'll get you by. The $20 person is always usually a problem. There's always multiple revisions, multiple edits. The $200 person is probably a perfectionist, and they're going to take the longest to get your video back. So you'll probably find somebody in the middle that fits with you. Actually, that's where I found my initial editor, still with me to this day, 150 videos later, found her on Fiverr. Yeah. And we actually just hired her full time now because we're doing so much that, I was able to buy her out of her other clients and bring her on full time so that she could, I literally asked her, I said, what's it going to take to buy you out of your other clients? And she loves that too, because here she had to do a little bit for like 10, 15 other clients. Now she can focus. And that's what I wanted. Really selfishly, I was like, I want you focused completely on us all the time, making our content better. So she now takes our long form content. She's the one that started our TikTok, our shorts channel, everything, just by chopping everything up. So now when she edits a video, she's also marking everything at 30-second and 1-minute increments. So she's looking for shorts, for TikTok videos, everything That's else awesome. She can just pull out of it. So we're just repurposing all that, and we're able to launch those other channels without any additional effort from me.
That's impressive. That's something I'm personally not doing. So that's why I love these conversations. We all learn something new. My editor is just a guy fresh he's still in college. He does a great job for what I want, and he's fantastic. And I'm sure if I said, hey, do all these other things, he would do it. Mm-hmm. I just never even thought about doing that. I'm not interested personally. I'm not interested in TikTok. I know there's a growing market out there, and I've had some other good TikTokers coming on the channel are going to talk about this stuff. But I would be much better served like telling them, hey, charge me another X amount of dollars and cut this down to something I put as a reel. That way I can put it back towards the channel. So the cost of that, what does that end up looking like, roundabout, now that you've taken this person and you've hired her? What does that look like? I guess the question really is it worth it to hire somebody like that for the actual leads that you're going to get back?
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Anything you can outsource from your own efforts, is I think going to worth it. Maybe it doesn't make you money today, but everything's a compound effect, right? Even views on your video. So by me being able to focus on other things and actually we're seeing our subscriber count, really start to pick up steam now. And I believe, because from TikTok, from the shorts channel, we don't provide direct links to the channel, but like on TikTok, I say search living in Dallas, Texas. So I'm giving them a call to action, but I don't want to provide them a direct link because I do believe it's very hard to transition people from one platform to another, and I don't want them going from TikTok to the YouTube channel, checking it out for a minute or two, and then jumping back to TikTok.
Right.
I think when they're ready, if I tell them, "Hey, go search living in Dallas, Texas," then when they're ready to be on YouTube, they'll search it and they'll want to look it up.
Interesting.
Then they're
like
ready.
That.
Yeah, they're ready to consume long form content. So, to me, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok is killing time platforms. It's like you're standing in line at Chick-fil-A, you're scrolling, you're like waiting to board your plane. You're like, let me kill 5, 10, 15 minutes. And if you jump over to YouTube and you see I have a 25-minute video, you're likely going to say, I don't have time for that, And then if they end up watching a minute or 2 or 30 seconds and jump off, or, it's just, that's not the person I'm looking for. I'm not trying to convert people at that time. So, from there, the editor, here's the thing. You can get sponsorships for your channel as well. And if you want a zero cost, it's just like our transaction coordinator. Our transaction coordinator is zero cost because we actually add that into the buyer agreement. So our buyers actually pay the cost of the transaction coordinator. We have never had a single buyer of ours balk at that because it comes out of the closing costs, or it gets just added into the closing costs. And they're like, $350? Okay, no problem. But we put an explanation in there, everything that she does for them and for us. And so they're actually happy to pay that. So you can zero cost a transaction coordinator from the start.
Nice.
We have,
I love that.
Yeah. We have a great mortgage team here. And I'll just tell you now that they contribute quite a bit. They got everything approved for a specific partnership with us through their own law firm. So it is legally and it is RESPA compliant. But I tell you what, they take on a significant amount of contribution towards us, and that's huge, and that's worth a lot of money. We're in discussions with a law firm right now. So there's a law firm that disputes property taxes. As you know, Jeremy, property taxes are crazy in Texas, but there's law firms that actually dispute that. So I've reached out to them. You don't have to wait for people to come to you. I've actually reached out to them, and I'm in negotiations with a law firm sponsoring the channel.
I've done that. So I've reached out to 2 local. They will not respond to me. So I don't know if it's an Austin thing where they just won't, but I've tried that. And I agree with you. The way to go is definitely get sponsorships. You got to be careful too, but you've talked about getting them RESPA compliant. And I would actually love for somebody to find me on a short form in the line at Chick-fil-A and say, oh, I'm going to work with this guy as a realtor. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
But as far as YouTube shorts go, I looked on your channel. When you start talking, I'll bring it up. But are you having success with YouTube shorts on YouTube, and what's your strategy there?
Well, we started a second channel for that. So initially you'll see some shorts. So I did a test, here's the thing is you have to test everything. So I went back and forth on my own research for about a month before I came out with shorts on the channel. And what I decided to do was I'm going to launch, I launched a short every day for about 3.5 weeks. And because I also understood if you want to do something, you want to do it with consistency. Now, I did not substitute that with my long form content. So what I did was I was still publishing long form content, but the days that I wasn't publishing long form, I published shorts. Now, here's the problem. Here's the reason I stopped shorts on the channel was that almost all the shorts had some sort of virality, which means they would be flat and then they would get 800 or 1,000 views in 1 hour and then they would flatten out. So to me, I'm thinking in my mind, that's just somebody scrolling with their thumb, and then it gets fed in there. It gets fed in the shorts feed, literally. So it's not really reaching the target audience. We've been very specific about letting YouTube find our target audience. And if I get 1,000 views in 1 hour, I just don't believe that is our target audience for who we're looking for. So I was concerned about attracting the wrong viewers to the channel, which is why I stopped. Now, what we did is we decided to just open up a second channel. And if people consume that content and then they want long form content, they'll find the other channel.
Got it. Awesome. Well, man, this has been really insightful. I'm really happy for your success. I'm glad you took the time to do it. If people want to reach out to you and just ask you a few questions, where could they reach out to you at?
Instagram. That's probably the best way. I mean, that's pretty much, I just network with real estate agents on there. I don't try to drive any client business from Instagram. So it's all really, and I put out a lot of YouTube related content, that hopefully rings some bells for real estate agents and gives them some value on there as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining. If you found value in this, make sure to hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and leave as many comments as you want at the bottom, because Levi is going to respond to every single one. We appreciate you. Everybody have an awesome day. We'll